To go back to the winter conversation with the eat what you kill, when cash flow is tight, the temptation is to take on any client, even the toxic ones. Have you had to learn the hard way that all money isn't good money?
You have to learn when to say no because it'll come back to bite you and it's not worth it. You just have to learn, when you go to an interview or you go to an appointment with a client, don't forget you're also interviewing them. You want to see if we are a match. Sometimes you can't fulfill a client's expectations. And I have had some instances, two have come to mind that I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? And it was just my instincts. I said, this is not a good idea, but I did it because I needed it at the moment and I regretted it. Took the check and it was a nightmare. Red flags, not just in business, but in anything, relationships. We don't listen to that instinct or that inner voice, and it's going to be a nightmare, believe me.
Did you take it because it was during the winter and you needed the money?
It was a little bit of winter, and it was a little bit of, also in the beginning of my career. And I said, I need to just jump in and get my feet wet. And boy, did I get wet. This was, an interesting client.
Tell me about them.
Well, all right. I mean, I don't want to ever badmouth a client, but, they were just interesting. They were always fighting. I got there and they were fighting. During the project, it was a nightmare. And then there was, just crazy stuff like coming out, falling off the sofa to open the door with a bottle of vodka. I'm like, oh my God, like this is what I'm going to deal with all day. A wife that wanted to kill her husband, throw him down the stairs, and fighting. And I'm like, what the hell? And you become a therapist. Some of it's very uncomfortable. And you meet in this business a lot of interesting people, a little crazy, because along with money, and this is something that interior design is for clients that have the potential or the money, the ways to pay for this kind of a service. It's not a necessary thing; it's a luxury. But they also amplify. Money amplifies the crazy, the good, and the bad.
Right.
With it, like anything.
And more money just amplifies who you are. Tony Robbins said that not too long ago.
So you definitely an interesting situation with clients when they're eccentric and they've never heard no, and they want certain things, and you just have to be careful.
Yeah, so you got to be careful with falling into that impulse trap of accepting toxic money. So the art of saying no, you work with wealthy, powerful clients, like you said. They are used to being the boss.
Correct.
As the designer, you have to be the authority. How do you look a millionaire in the eye and tell them, no, that idea is terrible, without getting fired?
Well, that has to do with your character. Just because someone's paying you doesn't mean you're going to lie or you're going to go against something that's not going to work. You have to always think about that. I've had plenty of clients that are like, oh, I love this and I want that. And I'm like, well, this is not going to work. It's not to scale. It's not to proportion. It's not the right look. And, I try to always please the client as much as possible because it is their home, or it is a commercial office, or it is their business. So, it's not my home, it's theirs. But I'm not going to jeopardize myself for money. And that's just your character. You're going to do it or you're not. You're going to sell out or you're not. So
yeah, I've had to learn the hard way too. I think all of us as entrepreneurs learn the hard way. Whereas in the beginning, when you're just starting out, of course, you're just taking on anyone and everyone just to build yourself a name. But then you realize that it's just not worth it because you deal with enough toxic clients. I actually recently had a situation, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago. I was referred to a company by an existing client who also, they're no longer a client as of recently, and they were a difficult client to begin with. And they were referred to me to one of their associates, and they were going to pay us $5,000 a month. Really, that was actually lowballed. The proposal we sent them was supposed to be almost $7,000 a month, and they basically begged us to give it to them for lower. So I worked out a deal. It was supposed to be a 1-year contract. I worked out a deal with them. I said, okay, look, we'll do this deal for you. We'll do it for cheaper, but we'll do it only for the first half of the year, for the first 6 months, and then it goes back to $6,800 or $7,000, whatever it was. And the owner agreed, and then when he put me in an email with his team, and by the way, that owner who I was dealing with, right, the new lead, I already was feeling very uncomfortable with them, Carlos.
The
You know, they
energy.
were very aggressive, and yeah, the energy, the vibe was just, you know, they were very entitled, and a bunch of other issues that were making me uncomfortable. So I was already kind of worried that we won't be a good fit. And you
The
know,
red flags.
red flags,
Yeah.
exactly. But I was at a, I was also thinking like, well, I would like the money, and it's good money, right? So then when he copied us, he CC'd us with the rest of his team. Suddenly we were on trial by those people when the owner already agreed to the terms, right, for the 6 months and then a year.
Right.
And then I said, you know what? I emailed all of them, and I just stepped away. And I said, you know, I wish you guys luck. This is not a reflection of you and your team or your goals, but it's just not going to be a good fit between the two teams, and walked away. And it was a very difficult decision. And again, this was like 2 or 3 months ago. But I knew that I knew that my sanity would thank me.
Right. And yeah, that can ruin you. A bad client like that can really take you down the wrong path and ruin you, because it's not going to work out no matter what you do. You sacrificed, you did something that you shouldn't have, red flags, red flags, red flags. So
Correct.
don't do it. But along with that, you also have like great clients that you do the projects, you just make them so happy. You bring success. It's just a great project. They love it. And there's perks to all that too. It comes a relationship. They refer you. There's trips, there's parties, there's dinners. It becomes some really great friendships, relationships. And those are the ones that build. They refer you to their family and friends. Keep doing a good job. That's the key. I keep repeating that because it's key.
If you enjoyed this Key Moments segment and got value from this conversation and want to watch more Key Moments segments just like it, go ahead and click right here. And if you want to watch the entire episode, go ahead and click right here. And do me a huge favor, check to see if you're subscribed to the channel Point of Departure. I appreciate you.